Everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of Women of Community Banking podcast. We got Bhavna today. Hi, Bhavna. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, Anurag. Thanks for having me here.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us, Bhavna. Quick introduction who Bhavna is. Bhavna is the Chief Digital Officer of BCU, based in Chicago. Now, Bhavna has a very interesting background, right? I'll do a quick introduction for Bhavna. She has almost 25 years of experience spread across consumer banking, followed by fintech, and now in credit unions. So essentially, she's someone who has seen the 360 view of consumer finance, I would say, uh, across multiple geographies, right? So Bhavna started her career back in India, went back to school, came to this country, joined fintech, did fintech for almost more than a decade, and now with credit unions. So Bhavna, I don't know if I was able to do decent enough introduction of yours. If you want to add something, feel free.
Thank you, Anurag. You probably covered everything that I would
Top.
have. I did work in consumer banking in India when consumer banking was brand new. Uh, so got pretty good grounding. Moved to the UK. Actually worked in the UK industry as well, and then came to the US and started my career here at HSBC in their credit cards business. Um, I lived in California, lived in Palo Alto for a short time, and it was easy to have the startup bug catch me. So I followed an ex-boss to a fintech startup, and then eventually ended up at Savi Money for about 13 years. Um, BCU was a longtime client of Savvy Money, great friends, a very progressive organization. So our transition to BCU as a leader of digital banking was an easy transition and decision.
Sounds good, Bhavna. That's interesting. I mean, it's not my experience is not as diverse as yours, but very similar, right? India, Dubai, London, then New York. So all of us have almost seen the same journey. Amazing, Bhavna, to have you in the podcast. Let's start with one question. Uh, you've changed your role multiple times, went back to school, interesting career, right? Not the usual credit union person that I meet, like for the lack of better words. Your profile is very diverse. So what keeps you going?
That's a hard question to answer because most of us have very innate motivations of what we do. But I have to say that I really love what I do for various reasons. I think that at the end of the day, uh, work that credit unions do, work that fintechs do, work that banks do, make a big difference to the daily lives of people. And to me, being able to impact at that level makes a big difference. We also do interesting work. I have consciously worked in organizations that move the needle in the kind of products they build, the kind of impact they want to have, and the kind of culture that they build in their organizations. So, that kind of keeps me going as long as there are great products, great value prop, and a culture that we're building. You'll find me thriving in that environment.
Sounds good, Bhavna. Let's talk about your journey a bit. So, Bhavna, do you want to talk about your journey from where you started to what you're doing right now?
You know, I will remiss, I'll be remiss if I didn't mention my journey pre-education. So I actually was a sports kid, traveled across India for almost 12 years every year through my high school and college. My transition from kind of sports to management was interesting. As I evaluated what my options would be, uh, getting into business, getting into banking, and getting into roles that included management seemed like a very good transition because what I thrived in was discipline, collaboration, learning new skills, working and leading teams. And those are things that I thought that I was taking with me as I started my career. My career, even though has been in consumer banking, I probably have touched every aspect of it, whether it's back office, whether it's team management, whether it's building products, or even kind of setting up brand new things or teams. Now, at BCU at the moment, I lead the digital banking team, but really my role is about helping the organization strategize and imagine what a digital BCU looks like.
Interesting. I mean, your transition from sports to management, because I mean that's interesting. Uh, my question. Let's start with some questions about what you do right now. Obviously, uh, how has BCU's digital strategy evolved over the last few years, and maybe what's your current Northstar, right? When it comes to digital transformation.
Sure. You know, digital banking itself has transitioned of how organizations thought about it to what we do now. For example, Chief Digital Officer position is something that's an emerging position in most organizations. Digital as a team could sit in IT,
Mhm.
could sit in marketing, and often was thought about as experience. So, what does the app experience mean? And oftentimes it just stood on its own. The value of digital as standing for the organization itself and being one of the kind of elements when it comes to thinking about data, technology, and the experience is how digital is being defined today. So the role of a chief digital officer is now is evolving into something that becomes responsible for all three of those when it comes to any kind of digital interactions for the members. You know, the interesting thing, I'll tell you an interesting piece of information. For BCU, 1 in 5 members logs in into our app every day, right? That's how many people walk into our branch in a quarter. That's how many people actually call us in a month. So, can you imagine the magnitude of the number of people interacting with the app? The app, the website, the digital banking experience becomes the organization. And I'm sure that this is not unique to us. These numbers are not unique to BCU. This is how banking is done today, right? Most people are looking for parity between, hey, I want to be able to do in kind of in my app what I can do in the branch, has now changed to what more can I do in the app that I'll never be able to do in the branch, right? So the digital banking aspect of your kind of the solution is actually the only relationship many customers have with you, many members of the credit union have with you. So as we think about what we do in digital banking, what we make, what kind of investments we make in digital banking, we have to think about a member's relationship with the organization, right? Are you communicating the emotional connection that they feel when they walk into a branch in the app? Are you able to customize the same experience that you say, hey, I understand you, in the branch or on the phone into the app? Am I customizing everything for you like I would have done otherwise? I think that those are the things that I think about, I lose sleep on, and say, how do I convert the excellent, or rather the member excellence that BCU believes in into digital?
Sure. I think someone like me. I don't remember what happened the last time I went to a branch. I don't really remember. The last 2 years it might be zero. For me, again, PFI is a myth. An average US consumer has 20 plus financial institutions, but just trying to be on the top of the wallet requires amazing digital experience. I don't care again, me from stepping onto consumers, sure, I don't care about what your organization stands for, but I care about my experience. I should be able to transfer money from point A to point B frictionlessly. I should get good rates. I mean, those are table stakes for people like me in their late 20s or early 30s, maybe a different mindset, because for us, a financial institution is a place where money transfer should be the sexiest. That's one, right? And second, it should be personalized. I mean, you should not be send me offers of HELOC when I don't even have a mortgage. I mean, I have received such offers, right? They're ridiculous. But yeah, so I understand, where you're coming from, and hence, BCU has a CDO right now, is in capable hands of leading the digital chapter for BCU. So I'm glad to know that. Next, I want to ask you about the things that I geek on. I mean, I do data for a living for the last almost 10 years, right? Uh, Now, saying that, obviously, I am passionate about how credit unions will use data analytics in their digital journeys, right? I mean, having again worked in the Fortune 500 for almost 7 years, taking the knowledge out and trying to help credit unions. I know you've done the same thing. You've worked with Fortune 500 earlier. So if you wear both the hats of how data analytics has been leveraged outside of credit unions versus how is BCU trying to leverage data analytics in the digital journey, and how do you think will personalization play a role powered by data and analytics?
That's a great question. Financial institutions in general have been very forward thinking when it came to data. You know, uh, when the conversations around AI began, a couple of years ago, and all of us were forced to say, hey, what are we doing with AI? Most of the financial institutions stepped up and said, hey, we've been using AI for a bit. We were doing machine learning long before machine learning was understood. Now, in particular for the credit union that I'm at and the environment that I see around us, most of us have been able to understand kind of the profile and the portfolio of our members. We have a fairly good idea about what our members look like and what do they do. However, the next challenge for us really is on understanding or learning from their activity digitally to understand or to translate that into any kind of predictive understanding of what they might need next. And the second thing I think is important for us as we think about data is, are there any third party data sources that we could use which help our members, which can help our members or help us deliver better services to our members? Uh, Interestingly, these frameworks are not new. These things have been talked of quite a bit. The challenge for most credit unions is that we rely on third parties for our data, for our applications. And our biggest challenge today is how do we bring all the data from many different applications into one place so that we can use it meaningfully. And so, how do I tie various applications, whether it's digital banking, whether it's backend, whether it's my credit card platform, together so that I can get meaningful insight from and deliver it back as well, right? So how do I do that? And the second, I think, challenge is just the fact, the skill set. The skill set of people today who do analytics is at a level that you don't find in financial institutions. So how do we figure out that good route of leveraging smart analytical skills and which are timely because the the ecosystem is changing so much. How do we figure that out on how do we partner with the right kind of partners who can help us figure out, hey, this is the skill set that's needed in order to get to your objectives.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you touched upon very relevant points. I mean, talked about predictive. I mean, again, I'll give you my 2 cents on a data strategy roadmap, what if I'm talking about building a 360 view of a consumer or a member. This is a common challenge Bhavna, everyone is facing. Data is so siloed. If we cannot wait for everything to come at one place, but at least start using data in whatever channels we have. We have got transaction data, maybe use transaction data to develop cross-sell, upsell triggers. You've got digital behavior data, maybe tie it back to transaction and see how do they talk to each other. But yeah, I mean, I go ahead to all the challenges, and that makes me feel very comfortable that I'll still have my job for the next 20 years. So I'm happy about it.
You know, it's tremendous how much data is created.
Yeah,
And being able to leverage data actually starts with being able to actually understand, where the wheat from the chaff is,
yeah,
and and then be able to use it and use it wisely, right? Also, data can lead to a lot of answers. Then being able
yeah.
to use it appropriately and saying, "Hey, how do I now that I know what a person wants?" There's another challenge of that last mile, where what am I delivering to a person? Nobody wants to keep receiving notifications every day because Bhavna's company thinks that they'll be in the market for a mortgage, right? Um, so there is that aspect of thinking about um, or bringing together the analytics and the learnings from the analytics to understanding consumer behavior and consumer kind of reception of what they want.
So, I think this is a broader conversation over a coffee or a beer. This cannot happen on a podcast for sure. So let me move to the next question. Otherwise, I'll geek out. So uh, again, I think we spoke about emerging tech that everyone talks about nowadays, maybe AI or open banking. I mean, I'm a very strong believer of open banking, right? I mean, we need to embrace open banking, if not in the next couple of years. I mean, in Europe, it's already happening, right? So it'll happen over here for sure. So, what is your 2 cents on open banking? What do you think where we are heading to?
Yeah. Yeah, open banking, I won't talk regulation because
Yeah,
that's very unclear and
yeah,
ever changing at the moment. But by and large, the premise of open banking is to create more choices for consumers. And I believe that more choices for consumers is a good thing. Uh, it's not important that we are at risk or BCU is at risk because of open banking. In fact, we feel that there might be advantages for us that when there is open banking available, that we leverage to better serve our members. Um, the the technologies that I'm actually excited about and looking very closely at are around faster money movement. One of the things that credit unions and quite a few banks haven't leveraged are the new rails that make money movement faster and yet secure, right? I know that there's a lot of talk around crypto, but the stable coin rails, those are all opportunities that are opening up for us, and not just FedNow or the
yeah.
RTP. I'm talking of the entire kind of ecosystem of payments that might lead to better interactions, for better outcomes for people. Uh, there are other technologies as well, I think, that I'm thinking about, I'm keeping in mind. One of them is delivery of an always on bank, right? uh, Always on bank, the app is really an always on bank, but can there be an always on bank through, for example, our chatbots? Can our chatbots deliver um, agentic quality of banking, which is secure and very personalized?
Yes,
So that's kind of the second thing that I'm pretty excited about.
interesting. Great. So, in the interest of time, Bhavna, I want to ask you one uh, parting question, right? So, this was a lot of fun. This question was a lot of fun. My parting question would be looking ahead, right? So, what does the next wave of digital transformation look like for credit unions, and what are your 2 cents on that?
I find it hard to do much of crystal ball Gazing largely because I I don't have that large an exposure. Um, but if there are some things that I can see uh, and say from my vantage point, uh, I think that the next wave of personalization will be digital, will be channelless, and uh, and the user experience may not look like what we think it is today. What could it look like? I am not sure. I do think of a day when you might look at your app, have done half the work, walk into a branch, and continue a conversation completely seamlessly. You could get solutions delivered on your phone while you're talking to BCU on the phone. You wouldn't have to hunt for things. You have a question, you ask the question, and somebody answers it for you, whether it's a chatbot, whether it's your personal kind of agent or a personal, banker at BCU. Uh, I think that the experiences will evolve. I think the products will evolve as well. One of the best things that's happening around disintermediation due to technology is that some of the products that were very high value will get disintermediated and made available to everybody in banking. And I think that BCU will be in the forefront providing those solutions, whether they're on the lending side, whether they're on the savings side, or whether they're on any kind of financial advisory side.
Sounds good. This was a great show, great interview for like 21 minutes, as what I promised. 21 minutes is the optimum time. This was amazing, Bhavna. Again, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Anurag.
Thank you.